New tweets coming out this morning that's going to make for a volatile Bitcoin week upcoming. It's Sunday when I'm recording this. I expect the roller coaster to continue going into this week. Some big tweets coming out this morning. I feel like we've been saying this for the past couple days, but Bitcoin right now is actually holding up pretty well given all of the craziness that's happening. We're going to talk about why this week is going to be huge in this video. But before we get started, welcome back to the channel. For those that are new here, my name's Doc. Throughout the day, I'm a resident physician, and at night, I take you guys on my crypto and investing journey. Guys, we're going to talk about a bunch of stuff today and how you can play this so that you can make some money off this, because I really do think this is going to be a volatile next couple days. Also, as you're coming in, if you get any value out of this, hit the like button, subscribe, comment down below. What do you want to see next on the channel? Bitcoin right now hovering right above $82,000. Here we're looking at the daily chart, and you can see the past day or so has been red. And we're really following this interesting trend line. I drew this trend line about a week ago, and what you can see here is just a set of lower highs. We've been rejected off this trend line every time we try to get above it, right? As recently as just a few days ago too, right? So this big wick down, this is when Trump brought out the big board with all the reciprocal tariffs and all the kind of charades that went off with that. And we continue to set these lower highs. But the real question is this all part of a larger plan? I think so, and we're going to talk about that throughout this video. I also drew this floor here, and I really like this floor. This coincides with the wick that we sent a couple of weeks ago in the high 70s. I believe that was 76,000. This also just happens to match really well with where we were on election night, right? So an interesting level of support here. We wicked off this and bounced off it just a couple of weeks ago. We tried to get down it a week before that. This is a line. Both of these lines are going to be lines that I am absolutely watching. If we look at Bitcoin dominance, it continues to go higher. We're now sitting at 63%. This is the daily chart. If we switch this to the weekly chart, you can see just nothing but an up and running away. And for those that aren't aware, Bitcoin dominance, this is how much Bitcoin takes up of the entire crypto market. Obviously, we want this to go down so that we can have our altcoin seasons. Guys, Benjamin Cohen's, I'm looking at the private Telegram alerts that he has in his premium Discord and Telegram on my other monitor. He thinks Bitcoin dominance could hit 66%, right? So up here is kind of where he's drawing the line in the sand. Now, obviously, he doesn't have a crystal ball. I don't have a crystal ball, right? I'm not a financial advisor. This isn't financial advice. I would not be surprised if we get a wick up there. We can see how fast this can rocket up because, right, Bitcoin dominance can go up whether Bitcoin price itself is going up or if Bitcoin price is going down, right? Because this represents the overall crypto market, how much Bitcoin is holding up of that. We've talked a lot about global liquidity, how it's really high, right? We are above all-time highs, and that's really important. But I think more on a macro level, this is a chart that I'm spending more attention to. So this is the US 10-year treasury rate. And this is so important. We're going to talk about this. Guys, a couple months ago, this was above 4.8%, right? This was in January. On Friday, we wicked all the way down to 3.8. This is so important. The 10-year yield is so important because the 10-year bond rates, this sets the market for where mortgage rates are, for where credit card interest rates are, for where auto loans are. So in a lot of ways, this is a silver lining that this is coming down, right? It has been straight down, and Trump and his press secretary, his commerce secretary, they've been saying that their whole goal is to drop this, right? So Trump and Bessent, they say they want lower yields because they know lower yields lead to a booming economy, right? So 10-year treasury yield, it dropped below 4% just a day or two ago. And you got to think about it, right? The US has a ton of debt that we need to refinance, and having low treasury yields will allow us to refinance that debt for cheaper. And you might not think that 0.5% or 1% makes a big difference. It makes a huge difference when you have $36 trillion on your balance sheet, right? So really, really important. We've come down almost a full percentage point, right? Like I had mentioned in January, we're floating around 4.8. We had a wick down to 3.8. I suspect Bessent and Trump are going to keep trying to push this down until we bottom out around 3.5%. So keep an eye on that. The other interesting thing is, and this is kind of something that could potentially spook the markets over the next day or so, is Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick is saying there's no postponing tariffs. Tariffs are going to stay in place, right? So we saw on Friday, China announced a 34% retaliatory tariff against the US. And guys, this interview was just this morning, right? So this is fresh news. And the interesting thing is, if tariffs stay in place, and we're going to talk about this towards the end of the video, how this could lead to something like a Black Monday tomorrow when the market opens. For those who aren't aware, Black Monday is like when the market absolutely nuked. Spoiler, I don't think that's going to happen, and we'll talk about it here in just a second. Also, if you're getting anything out of this, hit the like button, subscribe, comment down below. Do you think this week we're going to tank, or do you think we're going to hold up pretty well? Speaking of holding up well, Bitcoin has held up pretty well, given the fact that the stock market absolutely shit the bed the past couple days, right? If you look at NVIDIA, down 10% on Friday. It's been down quite a bit year to date too, right? At one point, NVIDIA was floating with the 150s. The QQQ was above 535. Now we're sitting at 422. Now, you may think, okay, this is good. Bitcoin is holding up well compared to the stock market. Yes, for the time being, that is true. We need to see if that continues to be the narrative, because if you think about it, there's really not a lot of positive narratives in the short term on board for Bitcoin, right? It's more so fears, right? There's more negative sentiment at this point in time than there is positive sentiment. Now, I do think that's going to change pretty quick, but there's some big things that we need to get around, right? So we're saying, hey, there's the tariffs, they're not going to be postponed. They're going to be here to stay. And now we have these thoughts of like a recession. It's at 60% for this year, which is pretty high, right? People, this is Google Trends. The word recession has been spiking, right? People are Googling this constantly because there are fears that the market could get worse. And yes, I understand right now, Bitcoin is holding up well compared to stocks, but traditionally, Bitcoin and the stock market is correlated, and it's correlated pretty well, right? If we look at our pinned messages, I sent this out to the Discord, which, by the way, link down below. It's completely free to join. We have nothing to sell you. Typically, the S&P 500 and Bitcoin is very well correlated, right? If I didn't label these two charts as S&P 500 and Bitcoin, you wouldn't know which one is which if you excluded this big drop down, right? So these two assets are highly correlated. For Bitcoin to do well and get back above its all-time highs of 109,000, which, by the way, that is my base case. I do not think the all-time high is set in for this cycle. I do think we have higher to go. We just got to get through these, recession fears, kind of some growing pains right now. But if you want Bitcoin, or rather, if you think Bitcoin is going to set in new all-time highs, guess what, guys? The stock market needs to turn around, right? And it kind of needs to turn around in a fast way. So you're probably thinking to yourself, okay, Doc, we kind of got like some peak fear. Obviously, I just showed you in this chart, the stock market sold off in a pretty significant way the past couple of weeks. Well, why is all this happening? You could argue, and I think it's actually a pretty good argument, that Trump and his Commerce Secretary are doing this for a reason. So there is now a 33% chance that we get a rate cut in May, on May 7th. That's the next FOMC meeting. Now, although this is still a third of a chance that it happens, this was next to zero a couple days ago, right? This has increasingly gotten larger. The good news is by June, we're almost guaranteed to have a rate cut, right? There's a 75% chance that by June, we have at least one rate cut. And then guess what? July, there's an 82% chance that we get another cut. So we are pricing in multiple rate cuts for 2025. And we all know that more rate cuts leads to a lower terminal interest rate. And we know that low interest rates are good for risk on assets like Bitcoin, right? So in a lot of ways, I do think this is a very volitional, a very planned out recession scare, because Trump knows, hey, we got to get the interest rates down, right? Interest rates, for the reasons that we just talked about, are really good for risk assets. Also, keep in mind, guys, he's a real estate guy. Obviously, he wants low interest rates because there is a correlation. Low interest rates raises the prices of real estate, right? And that makes sense. If money's cheap, you can afford more of a house, which then allows sellers to charge a premium. So this is very much thought out and planned for, in my opinion. The other really good thing that's happening because of all of this is the dollar index, the Dixie. This is the strength of the US dollar. This is decreasing. And this, guys, this is on the weekly view. At the beginning of the year, we're at 110. We've wicked all the way down to 101. I would not be surprised if we got back down to 100, if not lower. And just for some context, guys, during the last bull run in 2021, when Bitcoin was flying, the Dixie was all the way down in the 90s. So we really want this to fall down and tank so that we can get our Bitcoin blow off top. So all of the things that are happening right now are reassuring in a lot of ways, right? We have way more interest rates priced in for this year. So just think about it, guys. It's painful now, and we're going to talk about this in a second, but it's painful now, but the narrative is setting up for a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful end of the year. Now, I already told you, I don't have a crystal ball, not a financial advisor. This isn't financial advice. There's going to be some short-term pain that we have to get through, okay? And I do think we are going to revisit the 70,000s at some point. We just got to get through this temporary pain, and then I think it's smooth sailing for the rest of the year. So we're looking at crypto bubbles. We're talking about pain. Here on the weekly view, a ton of things are down, right? A ton of things are down. Sui's down over 10%, right? Caspa down 17%. Say, you guys know I really like Say, down 12%. Ton. These are really great projects who are down quite a bit. So obviously we can turn this to the day. We can even turn this to the hour. It's down, right? And in my opinion, that's down because of tweets like this instilling fear within the market. Okay. Real quick, I just want to say thank you guys for all the support. We're almost at 7,000 subscribers. So again, if you are getting any value out of this, consider subscribing. It's totally free and it really, really does help me out. Gives me more motivation to keep pumping these videos out. I'm having an absolute blast. Really, really appreciate all your support. Okay. So this is a tweet that I put out last week. We got through the unemployment data last week and it was slightly higher than expected. Okay. The good thing is Powell, he had kind of a neutral tone. It was not a bearish tone. So that was encouraging. This upcoming week, we have CPI inflation data and PPI inflation data that we have to get through. Okay. So the rumor, or the thought process rather, is that tariffs are inflationary. Now, personally, we've seen these huge drawbacks in the market, right? We just saw the S&P fly back quite a bit. So I don't know if this inflationary print is going to come back hot. It could potentially come back lower, right? We're getting this retraction in the market. Could that help out some of this inflationary data next week? I'm hopeful. We'll have to see, though, how things play out. The other thing is April 30th, we get Q1 GDP. And guys, this is really the entire thesis of why I don't think we're done falling, okay? I'm going to put myself full screen for this because I think it's that important. On April 30th, we get Q1 GDP. And I can tell you right now, it is almost guaranteed we are going to have a negative GDP. The market is not going to react well to that, right? The week leading to that GDP print is going to be chaos, right? It's going to be kind of this looming thing in the background. So it could be kind of a sell the news event type of thing, or inflation. The GDP might not be bad on the day that it comes out, but the week leading up to April 30th, there is going to be a lot of fear in the market. Yes, some of it may be priced in, but all the headlines, right? All these news outlets and big stream media, they're going to be pumping this out. And here's why. Here is why. Q1 GDP negative. Well, guess what? Q2 is likely to be negative or close to negative as well. If you have 2 quarters of negative GDP, that is the classic definition of a recession. Recession scares people, right? So obviously, that's something we have to be watching. Now, there could be a silver lining to this, because if Q1 GDP is negative, guess what? We have an FOMC meeting a week later. And if Q1 GDP is negative, Fed Chair Powell is going to be more likely or more inclined to cut rates faster. And guess what? The data supports that, right? The Fed Watch tool is pricing in way more rate cuts this year, like potentially 4 or 5, right? Right now we're at 4.25 to 4.5. There's a decent chance that we could be a full percentage point lower by the end of the year, right? So that would be awesome. That would be really, really good for markets. But nonetheless, we have to get through all of these hurdles before Bitcoin can really take off. And guys, I watched Tyler Hill's video this morning. If you guys don't follow him, highly recommend it. He is a awesome source of data. So we're not going to listen to the audio here, but I think he hit the nail on the head. And guess what? His thumbnail's spot on. He's telling you, hey, I'm going to tell you the truth. And he says we need a market change, a sentiment change, right? We're in this downward channel, right? And we keep bouncing off this resistance, just like I was showing here, right? This is a set of lower lows on this chart, right? We need to be able to break through this line right here and turn it from resistance to support. Guys, until we do that, there needs to be a sentiment change. We're close, but we're not there yet. So I'm talking about some big events that are coming up next week. The Kalbasi report, they're mentioning this as well, right? So tomorrow, there's going to be this reciprocal tariff responses. What they mean by that is like other countries responding. Now, yes, it is reassuring that some of these other countries are saying, hey, we're getting rid of our tariffs. We're going to play ball, right? Vietnam, Taiwan, they're saying, hey, like, let's work this out. Guys, this might not sound politically correct. The only 2 big ones that matter are the EU and China, right? China already said they're slapping us with 34% retaliatory tariffs, right? So yes, it's fun. Okay, all these other smaller countries with tiny GDPs in comparison to the EU and China, that's great. Yeah, let's have them play ball, but we need the 2 big ones to fall in line. So Monday, we'll see what responses we get. We have some Fed meetings coming out on Wednesday. That could be really telling of what's going to happen next. So I'll obviously be watching that and I'll make a video. And that's why you guys subscribe to me, because I get you fast, reliable information in a very digestible way. So consider hitting the subscribe button. We also got some CPI inflation data like we were talking about. And then we have some consumer sentiment data. So kind of a big week for data coming up. The other like big thing, and I'll kind of end on this, is Cramer is saying, this is Jim Cramer is saying that we could have a Black Monday market tomorrow, right? Yeah, less than 24 hours, the market's going to open up. And this Black Monday that he's speaking about, this is in regards to a Monday in 1987 where the stock market opened down 23%. Now, here's the thing. I can tell you right now, I'm taking the inverse Cramer on this because I do not think this is going to happen. I think we're going to get a little bit of pullback, right? I think it's going to be kind of slow and steady over the next couple weeks until we get this Q1 GDP and this FOMC meeting. So a lot going on. This is a little bit of a longer video, but I wanted to give you guys my thought process. If you guys want kind of my thoughts and how I'm interpreting this in faster real time, guess what, guys? You can check out the Discord down below. Completely free. Again, we have nothing to sell you. We have a solid group, people sharing a ton of alpha. Again, if you're trying to navigate this crypto markets with like-minded individuals, Discord link is going to be down below. Also, if you want to trade, my BTCC link is going to be down below. You can get 10% bonuses on first-time deposits, way lower trading fees if you use my link down below. No KYC, no VPN. They are a partner of the channel. So if you use my link, it helps me out. This is me, Invest with Doc. All right, guys, let me know, where do you think these markets are heading next? Here's something that's really important too, and I'll end on this. I mentioned this in the Discord this morning. If you can navigate these markets, you can navigate any markets. It was really easy to make money in 2023 and 2024 because the markets just went up, right? Real seasoned investors, right, or folks who know how to make money in these turbulent markets. If you can get through this, you can get through just about anything. Yes, it's painful. Yes, it's rocky. It's turbulent, but just buckle in, right? I think that's going to be the thumbnail for this. Buckle up, because there's going to be some volatility, but there is light at the end of the tunnel. So again, if you guys got any value of this, hit the like button, subscribe, comment down below. Where do you think Bitcoin's heading this week? And I'll see you guys on my next video.